Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Is anybody listening?
Oh my gosh. Yes,
All right.
they are listening. This is from Hey Bear. I'm listening. I've fallen deeply for this podcast on Saturday night. I had a bit too much red wine and therefore needed to sleep next to the toilet. I vaguely remember being lonely in the bathroom alone, so I played this podcast all night to keep me company. I don't remember a single minute of what either of you said, but I remember it being comforting while I puked up wine and Cheez-Its.
Ooh, wine and red wine and Cheez-Its. That's a fun Saturday night.
Glad
Love
we could
it.
be there for you.
Oh wait, I have a few more things, and then I want to jump off of that specific review. I know I said we're just going to do one review because I got the ick.
Yeah, you did.
But so many of these reviews lately are very creative and fun.
Yeah.
And so I think I want to start posting them like in our stories on Instagram. So if you don't hear your review read on the show,
That's fun.
you can see it on Instagram. Also wanted to give a happy birthday to Amy G from your friend, whose name I don't know. But she lives in Louisville, Kentucky. It is your birthday. She left us 5 stars in honor of you. You turned her on to the show. And she's signing you up for Patreon for your birthday, which is so incredible. We all get a birthday gift for Amy G.
Yeah, we do. Happy birthday, Amy G. Speaking of Patreon,
Yes.
real quick, Patreon update.
Big news.
Number 1, we've changed the handle to Nobody's Listening Right for Patreon.
Just to make it
Everything's
not
the
confusing.
same. You go to Instagram, it's the same. You go anywhere, it's the same. Nobody's Listening Right. And we're also simplifying the Patreon. We're slashing prices, and we're adding more bennies. So we're going to do a monthly bonus episode on Patreon moving forward. If you're an existing patron, check out, I made a video about the changes to the tiers and whatnot, a big explainer there, so you can check that out there. But
And it's only going to be better for our existing patrons. No one's getting hosed.
Everything's getting better.
Everything's getting better. So
Yeah, cool.
Okay. When was the last time?
I puked from wine.
Well, yeah. No, I was going to say, when was the last time you were like at a toilet from drinking?
Oh, I don't know, but I was notorious. I could puke and rally. So like,
Oh, were you that guy?
I could just puking. I didn't care. Just puke and move on with the night. However, maybe a big caveat. You've known me for a long time now. You know I don't really like wine, right? We've probably never really talked about why. My freshman year of
What?
college.
Am I learning something new about you?
Freshman year of
20
college.
years in.
First week, I got hammered off of wine with my roommate and a new friend down the hall, Christian and Nate. And that did it for me for wine because I did puke from it. And like there is something about puking red wine. It's not a fun one.
Well, it's first of all, it's tough to see.
That's true, too.
Tough to see because it's very like, am I puking wine or is this, you know?
That's very
Have you ever
true.
thrown up blood?
I don't know. And I know you're saying you would know, but I don't know. But you know what? The interesting thing about red wine, tell me if this is true. Every liquor, you drunk and puke, we all know that puke smell. It's gross. Maybe you've encountered it at a bar, outside in a parking lot. But the red wine puke in a puke lineup, I feel like you could pick out the red wine by smell, obviously by color, but there is an extra zhuzh to it.
This makes me want red wine right now, which I know is disgusting. You know, I've been drinking a little bit lately,
Oh,
and
look at you.
I love red wine, but yes, I think that you were right. There's like a kind of sweetness. Maybe it's the tannins. I don't know.
Tannins.
But yeah, I can't recall, but it's interesting that you're a puke and rally guy. Because, okay, here's a follow-up question.
Sure.
Oh wait, first let me tell the story of, you know, I was throwing up blood. This was dark days. This was like 2 months after my dad died.
Yes, these dark days.
I had to have my wisdom teeth out.
Yeah, as one does, sure.
Sure. I don't know why I chose to do it at this time. Maybe I just didn't have anything else going on.
It's also like
You're already feeling bad.
If you're on the list of you got to take these out, you don't want to leave them in forever, right? Or is it all myth? Is this just big dentist taking our money?
Big dental. Well, so my sister had something going on that weekend. She took me home from the surgery.
That's nice. You need someone to drive you.
And home, by the way, was to my parents' house in Sierra Madre. I was in a place for some reason. I set up in their room, in their bed.
I get it.
I think I was just feeling sad and missing them.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird.
They had both just died. And I seemed fine the first day, fine. And my sister was like, should I stay? But she had a friend's birthday or something in...
Burning Man?
Yeah. She had something in like San Diego. She had to travel.
She was out.
And...
Was she living there at the time, or was she somewhere else?
No, she lived in Manhattan Beach at the time. And
but she came out to help you.
Yeah, it's like an hour away from each other. So she came, she got me set up. She was offering to stay with me the whole weekend, but I was like, I think this was like the first thing she was doing that was kind of fun for her post funerals and stuff like that. And so she left. I was 19. And I swirled into, I liken it to like a leaving Las Vegas montage of like foggy, taking drugs, like
sex.
So much sex. No, it was me, my parents' dog Zoe on the bed with me in their bed with just sleeping and out of it and drugs and eating like...
Eating?
I was eating a little, like plain white rice that was like soft
cream,
and
maybe
mushy.
applesauce or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Cotton in my mouth, whatever. But I insisted my sister leave. Unbeknownst to me, this is why you should know this about me. I always put down that I'm
Rubber sheets.
Rubber sheets. You should know this. If you've wondered in the 19 years we've been together why there are always rubber sheets down. No. I'm allergic to... What is it?
I do know this.
It's not penicillin.
Is it the morphine family?
Oh, I should know what it is. I write this down
you've
every time
You've told me before, too.
Every time I have surgery, I write down what the fuck is wrong with me?
What is the antibiotic you get if you have strep throat? Is that penicillin?
Yes. Or
will you make sure that's recording over there, by the way?
Yeah, it looks good. Allergic reactions.
It's like Vicodin and stuff is what you're allergic to. Codeine.
Okay, so unbeknownst to me, I was popping that codeine because I was told to.
That's what they give you, yeah.
And apparently I had some sort of weird reaction and I started throwing up blood.
Jesus.
And I called an ambulance.
For yourself?
For myself. Now.
Smart.
Zoe had been shitting all over the house.
What?
Because I hadn't been taking her out because I was in this drug-fueled...
Okay. What? Gross.
I know. I don't even need to get into all of this, but I was so embarrassed when the paramedics showed up that there was dog shit.
They've seen it all, though, I guess.
They've seen it all. Anyway, I ended up being fine. I found out I was allergic to codeine. I got back to reality, and so that's last time. But what I will say is it's interesting that you're a puke and rally guy, and I'm curious when the last time you threw up was, because I hate throwing up with every cell of my body.
Yeah.
It is like the worst thing. It is a last resort go-to. And in fact, I haven't thrown up probably since I was pregnant with Otis.
Yeah.
And having morning sickness with both kids, especially with Teddy, where I had hyperemesis gravidarum. was a special kind of hell for me because throwing up is literally like the worst.
Yeah.
I will take anything out the ass. Like, I will shit whatever you give it to me, I'll deal with that.
Okay.
I don't want it out the mouth.
Okay.
But you don't mind it.
No, I don't. This is what I don't like about puking. If it is like if it's a flu bug or something like that, or a stomach bug, I don't really enjoy the like puking for like 24 hours, not constantly, but you know what I mean? A lot of times, like being sick and like that. Mm-hmm. However, say you're puking from being drunk, or puking from something you ate, or puking more just like a single one-off puke, like maybe something didn't agree with you or something, I associate it with the relief that you instantly feel after the puke. That's how I kind of wrap my head around it.
You know, I thought if you like that relief, you should feel what it feels like to pass a kidney stone. I'm not wishing that for you, but I will say that relief is like, woo, another level. But yes, I recognize that. You know, I also have the thing, we're about to get into Health Corner. I guess we're here. I have a Schatzki's ring.
You got to say what a Schatzki's ring. Nobody knows what that is.
Okay, so it's a band of muscle around my esophagus that sometimes contracts. And I've had a few procedures to like, they put a balloon down your throat and they blow it up. I'm like, it sounds worse than it is because you're under for it. And this is one of the procedures where I said I'm allergic to codeine. They basically blow it out so it doesn't get so tight. But then every few years, you kind of have to redo it, or at least I have, because the ring tightens up and basically it makes it so that food gets stuck in your like chest, and it is so painful. And the weirdest thing happens. The body's reaction to this is to start, you cannot swallow. If you swallow even saliva, it's like adding pressure to the pain.
No.
So, but you start salivating like crazy. Like my mouth turns into this water faucet of saliva. And I basically am just like standing over a sink or standing over grass and letting it all just pour out and just waiting for it to pass. And it's horrible. And then on top of that, we had the incident recently, a few times where like, I guess my vocal cords kind of swelled up for temporarily. And it was like I was choking while I was, because something went down the wrong tube. Mm-hmm. I'm really, is this making you uncomfortable?
That makes me a little uncomfortable, and I don't want you. Can you die from either of these things?
So, no. I mean, the Schatzki's ring, good for you to know this. Like, if I ever did have to go to the hospital, because I almost have before with that, but at least we know what it is. The other thing, what could happen is that I lose consciousness and it would relax.
That is very good to know.
However, I mean, if you're in that situation, I hope you're calling 911 anyway, because it's like, how do you know if I'm choking for real or...
Because you just told me.
But I also could choke on something.
No, don't worry. I'm going to call.
Okay.
I'm going to call.
Please no to do that. Anyway, I'm really nervous. That can happen just from water or saliva going down the wrong tube. You know,
Jeez.
It's happened a few times recently. All of this is really scary to me. That whole area feels a little fragile on my bod. So I don't want to throw up and then
then choke on your vomit.
Yes.
That would
be one of the most, I mean, there's so many horrible ways to go, but that would be one of the most tragic.
I was working with,
for me.
Listen to this. I was working with somebody recently, and they were telling me some story about someone being really, really drunk. And they're like, and before we put them to bed, we put the backpack on them. So, they couldn't roll over and, puke and choke. And I was like, I didn't know that there was a backpack hack out there.
Oh,
but the second they said that, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that sort of makes sense.
That's so smart.
I don't want to condone that if that's not helpful, but I
think it's very helpful. I mean, anyone should know that if your friend's so drunk that they're like passed out drunk, you need to put them on their side.
Right. And the backpack would make it hard to roll over.
Exactly.
It does make a lot of sense.
It's really smart.
Yeah.
We're doing a public service.
Again, I don't want us to officially endorse the backpack thing, just in case, you know.
Well, that's something we'll tell our kids.
No, we need to do our due diligence on this.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying.
Backpack
No.
for drunk friend.
Oh my gosh.
Why do college kids think a backpack can save a drunk friend's life? The act of using a backpack to prevent a drunk friend from turning on their back while asleep was reported in 2 recent college deaths.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh God.
I don't think it's the backpack hack that killed them.
Why are you laughing?
Because I think that seems probably pretty obvious.
No one knows. Finish the article.
I'm laughing because I sound so stupid. Okay, this is obviously not funny at all. I think what this is saying is called Jansporting. There's a new name in in college circles. You're gonna Jansport it. So Jansporting just might save a drunken friend's life. But the problem is that it's an internet-fueled misconception that people use to prevent bad outcomes from excessive alcohol consumption.
So the deaths are more likely that, like, they should have intervened and called 911 or
Instead
something
of being
instead
like,
of just like, oh,
we
it'll be
have
fine,
this...
we'll put the backpack
Exactly.
on. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Also, we're not endorsing Jansporting, period.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's pretty clever. But if someone is so drunk that they're unconscious or seem real, if you're worried about them, better safe than sorry. Take them to the emergency room, get that stuff situated.
All right, speaking of dying.
Oh, no.
Okay. Over the years, I have, I had a nickname on one of our old shows as Psychic Andy for a couple different reasons, but one of them was I sometimes have some psychic intuition.
Yes.
Right? I seem to be very good at, like, guessing numbers and stuff like that. We were at the mall. I was with the kids, and we were doing, like, a bunch of shopping. So I was carrying a bunch of bags. And as we were leaving the mall, they wanted boba. So we got boba, and I'm like, the boba at the desk, they called the name, and I was like, go get it, guys. And they go get it, and they're carrying it. And we're leaving. I'm like, we'll open them up in the car. But they're carrying
Boba.
the boba. Now, I preface all of this like...
And the way this is usually, it's like a plastic cup filled with a boba and the liquid and ice.
Yeah.
And then the top is like a plastic thin top that is sealed to the top of the cup so that then you take the big, thick boba straw and like smash it into the center.
Yeah, so it is sealed. But I had that thought right then, and this is probably not psychic at all, but you'll see where I'm going with this. I was like, I know they're going to drop this. I just knew.
Yes.
Now, that's probably just a parent intuition. But anyways, we go up the escalator. I'm all worried at the escalator. Like, that seems like a real nightmare for the janitor to clean up.
Yeah. It gets in the gears. And
But
yeah.
but I got too much to carry. I can't also carry the boba.
And they should be able to carry some fucking boba.
They're capable. We get to the top of the escalator. We're walking. And then our oldest, boba, just everywhere. Ugh. But it was just in such a weird way. I really felt like I just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've had this in my past. I feel like anyone can relate. Sometimes you just know when things are going to happen, right? But it sent me down this horrible wormhole of like, everybody's got their like intrusive thoughts. There's a way that I think that I might die that, sometimes pops in my head reoccurring.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say it on this show because I don't want to give it any weight. I'm not even going to say to you I don't want to give it a weight. That's why how paranoid I am, right? Mm-hmm. But in these weird moments where it's like something's going to happen and then it happens, it then makes me scared of like the weird intrusive thoughts we have in general. How do you balance that?
Okay. This brings me to this is crazy because I wanted to talk about something.
Okay.
There's a documentary called The Volcano Rescue from Whakaari. It's on Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's about a group of people went to visit a volcano in New Zealand.
Nice.
I've been on a volcano in Hawaii. It's like a very common tourist thing to do.
Okay. Didn't need that detail.
No, but this gives it context. Like, there are volcanoes all over the world. They're like, come be on a real volcano. It's exciting. And, but also you have this sense of safety and security.
We're on a volcano. It feels a little dangerous.
A little, but also like, people are coming here every day.
Okay, so you got skydiving, you've got race car driving, hot air balloon. Like, where do you put it in your like fear factor?
Hot air balloon is a great example. I put it around there. Now, I have been in a hot air balloon.
Okay.
I did.
You have?
In Arizona, yes, for my friend's 21st birthday.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. That makes sense. Okay. Her dad's a balloon mogul. Makes total sense.
No, but that's another thing that you just do, and you have a false sense of security because it's
hot air ballooning?
Yeah, because it's something people do. It's like something you pay for. There are professionals doing it there with you, and it's like it almost feels very akin to being like, I'm going on a roller coaster. But in truth, being on a hot air balloon is probably much more dangerous.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, whatever. This volcano getting way
I can
up.
tell you won't entertain any sort of arguments about that with me right now.
Well, we're just getting way off track. So these people...
I know. I was talking about my intrusive thoughts, and now we're talking about a volcano.
Oh, okay.
Bring us back home. I love it.
Okay. Well, this might help or it might hinder.
Oh, God.
And knowing you, it's going to hinder. But it is something interesting I wanted to talk about. Watching this documentary, these people, so it's an hour and a half. This volcano is an active volcano.
Okay.
It's an hour and a half boat ride away from the mainland.
Okay.
So you take a boat or you can take a 20-minute chopper. And you get but there are tour guides, there are these tours that happen on this volcano.
Yeah. This is a destination, a tourist destination.
Yes.
A thing that you do.
And on this day, a very tragic, horrible thing happened. And there were 45 people on the volcano and different tourist groups.
Okay.
The volcano erupted. And many, many people died. But the people who survived, it is such a horrific story. And I encourage people to watch it. If you're, I found it very interesting.
Oh, okay.
But kind of the takeaway for me was, so there are a few people who are really highlighted in this, who the interviews mostly take you through, and they're in different tour groups. Mm-hmm. There's this couple, this is their honeymoon. This happens, and they both, well, it was the husband's idea to go do this. He was oblivious about the potential real dangers because, of course, you are, because you assume everyone's doing this. Yeah. She is very on edge from the jump of when they get there. And she's like asking them questions. When was the last time this volcano exploded? Oh, well, it was 2016 and then it was 2012, then 2016, and it hasn't since. And she's like, well, it's 2019 now.
That's too close for comfort for me.
And it was like, it always happens when no one's on the island. There's like lore about this volcano doesn't hurt people type thing.
Sure.
But she had the feeling, and she even was uneasy and said to the husband, and the husband goes, it's not like it's going to erupt.
Okay.
And then it erupted.
But where were they?
They were...
Did they still go on the trip? I thought you were going to tell a story. Like, you hear a lot of those stories about people that are about to get on a plane, and they're like, I'm not getting on the plane, and then the plane goes down. No,
and actually, one of the people who died, there was someone who didn't go to work that day, and then one of the young men who died was a tour guide who, like, wasn't supposed to work that day and did go to work that day. But
so this woman and the couple, they end up going on the volcano regardless, and then they get caught in the explosion.
While they're on the volcano... She said, she's like, this, I really just want to get out of here or whatever. And he said, it's not like it's going to erupt.
And then it erupted.
Now, they survived, but, you know, everyone who survived it has a really rough life now. Burns. Horrific. And it goes to this thing of, how much do you trust your gut? Because honestly, similar to you, I would just never get on a plane again, even though I know statistically that is inaccurate.
Yeah.
Flights are safe. Now, there have been some flights, like the flight to the Republic of Georgia. I was looking around the people waiting to get on that flight and thinking, wow, this plane's going to go down. I don't know why, but this feels like a group of people who were... to go down. And it was one of the worst flights of my life.
Yeah.
Now, probably, I think that's the first time I ever had a panic attack was on that flight. Do you remember that?
I just remember that being a very hard flight for you.
Well, you get on and it's a really old plane.
It's old.
You can see people's heads and shoulders above the seats.
Yeah.
The literature in the pocket in front of you is in Georgian. You can't read it, but you do understand that the picture and the article is about a plane crash that happened.
One of my biggest regrets in life is not taking the onboard magazine, because no one believes that there was an onboard flight magazine that referenced a plane crash in the magazine.
Front page.
Like, it's so absurd. I wish we had the hard copy of that.
And then the pilots were smoking on the flight. Who was smoking? Some people were smoking.
Somebody was smoking. We don't know who, but there was smoke happening. Yeah.
That was like, okay, well, that's Georgian Airways. Never again.
Yeah.
You know, the turbulence and all of that stuff.
Right. Getting back to these thoughts in flying, actually, when I was coming back from Boise, they did the flight is full. We're offering, are there any volunteers that would go out tomorrow morning? We'll give you a $1,500 voucher. And I was like, ooh, that's amazing. That could bring everybody up to Boise for a family trip or something.
Yeah.
And I texted you like, hey, would it be okay if I came back tomorrow morning? You're like, sure. And I was like, before I even texted you, I had the thought in my mind like, whoa, like, what if I don't volunteer and then I get on the plane and it crashes?
Mm-hmm.
So then it became like I had to at least volunteer. And then once I volunteered, I was like, all right, now however it's going to shake out is going to be how it shakes out. Because they're like, all right, we'll let you know at the end if you're going to be on or not. They're like, thanks for volunteering. But I jumped to like, I have to do this because it might save my life.
I mean, all of this kind of goes to, this is all, so I'm reading this really fascinating book by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, Whole Brain Living. And I think I talked about this in a recent episode.
I think so, yeah.
But basically it's about like the differences between your left hemisphere and right hemisphere and how they work together and how you have access to all parts of your brain. But this is all left brain activity, and it's all like your fight or flight, your fear. So when Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, who's a neuroscientist, had a stroke, her left brain shut down. And even though she was having a stroke, and even though she was like aware she was having a stroke, she had no fear.
Yeah.
There was no fear. But the bad side of that was there was no urgency of like, I need to get help. But I feel like in situations like these, our fear brains are going into overdrive. And I do think because of the pandemic, our fear brains are like more acutely turned on. I mean, like walking around with the kids, like a crosswalk right now, I am at such high alert. And you took the kids to Target recently and left, like abandoned Target and
Oh,
your
I think I
cart.
talked about that on the show. There was a.
Did you?
I might have, maybe not, but I went into Target and there was something off with the energy in Target, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
And so you took the kids and left.
And I love Target.
I know. It always has such a delightful energy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think this has no answer to your question, but I had on my list to bring up this volcano doc and how to distinguish between when those warning signs are real and when they're just our left brain in survival
But what
mode.
is that couple still together?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a weird one, because, like, what's the couples therapy look like with them? Because they survive this traumatic event, but there still must be this weird of the wife being like, I kept saying that
No,
was going
that
to happen.
husband, they seem very in love. And I mean, it's actually very sweet, spoilers, but so this volcano, I forget what kind it's called, but it's like a steam volcano. It's not a lava volcano.
Okay, so it's just hot.
But it came like most of the volcanoes in the ocean. So you're just at the tippy top, which is this island. And basically all of the steam and rock and stuff from the bottom in a big explosion came up. But then the steam kind of rises up way high up in the sky. But it's the explosion. So for 2 minutes, like they basically got cooked. Like the steam.
Fuck.
So she had her hand grabbed onto his arm
Yeah.
through the whole thing
Yeah.
and was screaming like, I love you, and he was saying I'm sorry, like over and over. I could cry. His burns, he has her exact handprint on his arm where her hand kept that section of his arm from getting burned. Like they were very connected. This is their honeymoon. They're very in love. He is, I mean, obviously, has so much guilt and remorse and reiterated over and over, like, had they had any idea. I mean, it is a good thing to remember. All these things that we do, just because there's a tour or there's a guide helping you, doesn't necessarily mean it's safe. Like, there's a false sense of security, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm not worried about them as a couple. I think that they're really, if any, I mean, they said this, it's brought them closer, if anything, but it's a really sad, very, very sad documentary, but it does make you think a lot about those little voices and but you and I like err on the side. I mean, the flight one is a perfect example because in some ways it's like there's nowhere you could be that's safer. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, truly. And by the way, did you know that at any given moment in time, there are approximately 500,000 people in the air around the world?
Okay.
Which that also gives me great comfort.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, I actually thought about that. There was some turbulence on my flight. And actually, the whole brain living, I was trying to tap into that. And it really did help me. I think my panic never got to where it normally does. Like, even with a little turbulence. And I can be sitting there and telling myself the same thing over and over again. Like, this is nothing. It's safe. Like, we're in Jell-O. It's, the Jell-O thing actually does help me a bit. But it was more, I was reminding myself, like, your left brain right now is in overdrive. Like, try to tap into the right brain. And that did seem to help a little bit. But I also was thinking about there are 500,000 people where I am right now. And we're all getting home safe. I mean,
Yeah, you're not on a day-to-day basis, you're not hearing about all these airplane people dying.
because it doesn't happen.
That's nice.
Yeah. So it's an unfounded fear, and it has to do, I think, with control and like, you know, I just love gravity. I love my feet on the ground.
Damn.
Okay.
Before I forget, so many sweet listeners messaged after last week's episode about me trying to figure out the house across the street from where I grew up.
Yes.
Got so many amazing tips. Go to the tax assessor, different websites, so much amazing stuff.
Yes.
And I was about to dig in, but I got saved by my childhood best friend from my block, Pat.
Who we had no idea listened to this podcast.
Texted and was like, hey, I'm on traveling right now, was just listening to your podcast. What house are you talking about? And I was like, holy shit. And this house was like 3 houses down from him on his side of the street. And I text him the Google Street View of the house and the address, and he just fires back the name of the single woman that lived there. His sister used to cat sit for her and said she was a psychologist and split her time between St. Louis and New York.
Whoa.
And as soon as I saw the name, I was like, yeah, that's the woman.
And did it trigger anything of like...
Yeah, I got like, holy shit. And I also got a little, I mean, I felt weird regardless, but then I was also... Last week I was saying how absurd it was that my parents didn't know the name of this person because they knew everyone's name on the block and all these details, right? When I saw the name, I was like, how do my parents not know this name? I remember them, like, they know this woman. I haven't talked to my parents yet, so I'll update next week.
Okay.
In addition, Pat, like an hour, maybe 2 ago, sent the website for this woman. I have not clicked on it yet.
Oh, God.
So maybe we'll update next week. I want to like look at it with you. I also maybe want to talk to my parents before I even look at the website. Like, but he found the website for this woman.
What was the feeling in your body when you heard that name?
It was, to be honest, I was just kind of like relieved that I wasn't crazy. And then like, oh, that's the woman I'm thinking of. That's it. Then also a little frustrated, still trying to wrap my head around why my parents didn't remember that. I will say when I texted Pat the picture of the house, I started feeling very weird and like
I was going to ask you, like even seeing it.
Yeah.
And
So-
I also wanted to say, this is something you told me about a long time ago. It was just like it came up this weekend with your parents and you had an opportunity
to ask. Yeah, it's like seemed like the perfect opportunity to ask.
It kind of reminds me of, you know, the voiceover coach, the Me Too thing with me.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, but I had forgotten his name completely.
Oh, interesting.
And almost like maybe I had blocked it out.
Sure.
And when all of the like Me Too stuff started and I started to think about him and I was like, could that have been? Nah.
Right.
No. And I Google searched like voiceover coach, New York City, whatever. And when his name and picture came up, I totally had this like,
Whoa, yeah.
And I still at that point didn't even know if what he did was the version of what I thought he did, which was that things just got a little out of hand and I had led him on in some way that I didn't mean to or whatever.
Right.
And it wasn't until later that I found out, no, he was like calculated grooming women and assaulting them. Right. But that visceral feeling, I think, is a validation.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I mean, if people didn't hear last week's episode, I'm not making any like accusations of what happened. I have like a sense of maybe what could have happened. I have like kind of a weird memory, but it is so foggy and of no
You were so little.
Yeah, and there's nothing like concrete about it, and so even the nature of it, I'm not even exactly sure. But yeah, I'm gonna look, and then I gotta say, when I found out psychologists splitting time, that creeped me out for some reason. I don't know why. like if you were gonna pick any profession, I don't know why, because I love psychologists and whatnot, but there was something about it that was like, oh, that's interesting, because I didn't know that. I don't know why. I'm grabbing at straws here.
But it is kind of interesting.
But I am going to hopefully find out more, and I'm so curious what because there is no. I'm going to go on record saying this, and this might be a little reckless. Me airing out this stuff publicly before talking to family members. If they don't remember her name, something's off. Like, there will be no doubt in my mind. Because I remember her name vividly, and so I'm hoping I'm going to be like, it was so and so, and they'll be like, oh yeah, the single lady that split her time between St. Louis and New York.
Oh right.
I better ask them also before this airs. We don't know if my folks listen to this. We really
I hope
they
not.
Don't.
I love them.
But
you.
Love you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
That's that update.
Here's a few questions for you.
Okay,
you have now 2 mysteries cooking.
Yeah. What's my other one again?
The note.
Yeah, the note on the car.
Now, I was going to say, how do you feel like following up on this with your parents and whatever, knowing that you very well might not ever get any answers?
I have already, in some weird way, been validated with the
name.
it was this person and this name. I'm not crazy.
Like, it's not like,
think,
oh no, this family lived there. There's like, or it was this a man and his.
No,
no,
it was a single woman, as I had suspected.
You got the heebie-jeebies when you saw the house.
Yeah, all of it. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying. If it's the end of the road here, I already feel like I've already found out more than I thought I could have.
Before,
like, and the idea that there's a
website
that we have to look at the website later, which might be nothing or might be creepy as fuck.
I've been conducting psychological experiments on young children for the last 30 years. And I'm making.
I know. You're in a safe space.
Sorry.
But yeah, I will. I see what you're saying, but I think already, I almost think this was something I never even thought could even be examined. And yet it's always kind of stuck with me. And yet when I saw that window of opportunity to ask family members about it, and then it was not received, then I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I think we're in a good spot here, and I will keep you posted after the next 2 things. But truly, thank you to everyone that messaged. That was so helpful. And I think of anytime I've put myself out here in this weird, I guess is putting myself out there in sort of a weird way, but like when I talked about ADHD stuff, there were so many people that helped me on that journey. So
yes.
I just want to say to our listeners in general, you guys really, I don't know, step up in such a sweet way.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to I wanted to say something, talk about something. We're really pivoting here. Real pivot. Big pivot. Pivot. Which I saw this, I think it was on Instagram, a story, and I kind of wanted to do a PSA and hear your thoughts on this.
Okay.
So we had Valentine's Day recently, obviously.
Sure.
And a teacher posted about, or someone affiliated with the school, an adult, about how at like a high school or junior high school, this boy on Valentine's Day or the day before Valentine's Day asked this girl if she would be his Valentine. I don't know if there was like a dance or something.
Okay.
And she said no. And so the next day, I think on Valentine's Day, like everyone in the school gave him Valentines or like rallied around him,
Okay.
basically,
Okay.
which seems like a sweet story.
Okay.
But it's really kind of fucked up. Like, it goes to this idea of guys, I mean, it goes to the like incel idea of like girls are not allowed to say no. And if they say no, everyone rallies around him, his poor, sensitive heart versus like, and I'm also like, what is the alternative? A girl who doesn't want to do this, doesn't feel the same way,
Yeah.
is saying yes out of like guilt or
And what context did this happen where then everyone rallied around the
because he
boy?
was well. See, I'm actually not that surprised by that story, but it was more that the story was shared as this like uplifting. The person who shared this was like saying everyone rallied around him. It seems like this really uplifting story, but here's my take on it, which is that.
Yeah.
But it also goes back to the like the way we were raised, and it's still very pervasive, although luckily I think less so.
Yeah.
But it's like the boy chases the girl.
Yeah.
If a
And
girl
if she says no, keep going,
you
keep going.
keep at it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you hear these like romantic, quote unquote, romantic stories of like, well, first she said no, but I blah, blah, blah. And then
Right.
I wore her down, basically.
Right.
And I mean, that's true in terms of like asking for first dates. Then it becomes true in terms of like sex, like coercion. If
Yeah.
she says no at first, like you keep at it. And it's this weird, like hunter prey situation.
Sure.
But I will admit, like I first heard that story and I was like, oh, like I was like, oh, well that's, and
Well,
then
I think we jump into like the way I'm rallying around that story, I think is the fantasy version that we jump into. It's like the super dorky kid that finally gets the courage to ask out the most popular girl in school, and she humiliates him when she says no in front of the entire auditorium.
Right.
That's the version that I'm like, and yeah, let's lift this kid up, right?
That's so true.
Which and maybe in that version, maybe it's somewhat appropriate to help lift this kid up. But what's much more likely is like, yeah, that probably wasn't the case at all. And it's like,
and this poor
kinda
girl
fucking
now
weird.
is like, oh, I said no, and then I'm getting like,
what is that going to do to the girl now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
that is crazy.
you know, so growing up, I had kind of a little suitor. And he was the really like painfully shy, nerdy, sweet
Yeah.
kid named.
Oh.
And he was really also very interesting. He was like really into nature. In fact, I would talk to him about him with my mom.
Okay.
And I called him Nature Boy.
Okay.
He like lived on an island during the summers that had no electricity. I mean,
God, you're really narrowing it down for your St. Louis fans right now.
oh. I really, whatever. Nature Boy. We're just going to call him Nature Boy. Let's bleep his name out that I just said.
I mean, that's a lot of work, but sure.
I'm sorry. Do you want to make a note? So, but this is really interesting, and this is an interesting parenting question. Obviously, we've evolved a lot since then. I mean,
Well, wait, what happened to Nature Boy?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay,
Hang on.
sorry. I thought you were just getting
I'm like
sidetracked.
no, I am kind of getting sidetracked, but I'll come back together.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, my mom was a Southern belle, very much a traditionalist in terms of like dating, and like was a romantic at heart. And
Yeah.
she was, you know, she loved all of that stuff. And she also was very, very kind to all people and all animals. And like kindness was really important to her in a way that I actually feel like I got the lessons of being kind is important in a way that a lot of our peers
Sure.
probably maybe didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she definitely also subscribed to like, don't be a tease. I mean, she would never say that, but she would that existed, definitely. And I've talked to you about, like, in New York, I would go on dates and I would feel obligated to, like,
Sure.
give them a kiss at the end because they bought me dinner,
Yeah,
which,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think was kind of rooted in this more, like, traditional
Sure.
stuff. But with Nature Boy, what was interesting was, you know, he was really sweet. And I wasn't, like, some big popular meanie. I was just kind of a going about your life gal.
Mm-hmm.
But he really took to me, and he would bring me 4-leaf clovers.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah. And he was always so sweet, and he asked me out a few times, and he was so nervous asking me. I mean, it was like my heart breaks even thinking back to it.
Okay.
And I would tell my mom afterwards, and she'd go, "Oh, honey, can't you just go out? You know, does it hurt to just go out with him? Couldn't you just go to the dance
Yeah.
or whatever?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, how would we approach that with our kids? Because it's a fine line
Very
between kindness, but also like empowering them to follow their own truth without, you know, and you can still be kind. And I'd like to think I really was. Like, I'm sure I never.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
But yeah, so here's my question.
I think the answer is kindness and friendship. Big stuff there. But like drawing the line at, it's hard with, especially if they're younger, but this idea of like romantic and kindness, right?
Yeah.
That it slightly veers into a different territory, slightly. And I guess teaching the nuance of that distinction. Even if it's as simple as being asked to a dance, that's, you have a right to say no to that. Whereas maybe sucking it up and going to someone's birthday party is a different thing. Right?
Yeah.
But there is
But
a
still,
tremendous amount of nuance there. Yeah, which is hard to navigate.
in some ways it would feel more cruel to go like, I'd love to go, you know, see Lion King with you, but just as friends.
That's interesting, though. But
I mean, that could probably work, actually.
That doesn't actually sound as bad to me.
I feel like modern people, and I'm curious if like there are, you know, younger people listening to this, are way more comfortable with being upfront with their feelings like that. And even like in breakups, just saying, you know, instead of creating drama around it to like in smoke and mirrors, just basically saying like, look, I really like you. We gave this a shot. I don't think this is a forever thing. And like both parties are like, okay, that sucks, but carry on. Versus back, I feel like when I was younger, it was always, I don't know, there was like all of this, you just couldn't be upfront the same way. And I really admire that. I think that's cool. And the other thing I was going to say is with kids, it actually starts younger now in the sense of, hey, if you don't want to kiss your grandma or grandpa or uncle or whatever, you don't have to. When they're like, come give me a hug, if you don't feel like hugging, don't, which is very new. I mean, when I was a kid, it was all about like, you must respect, particularly family.
Yeah.
No matter what. Don't be rude.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's a different way of
Moving
approaching
target.
it. Moving target.
Crazy. No, I don't know. I mean, that's great.
Was today's episode unbelievably intense?
I don't know. Let's end on something very light.
Okay, go for it.
Very light.
Okay.
Okay. When you get that Hidden Valley Ranch like mix,
Yes.
so not like you can buy Hidden Valley Ranch dressing in the bottle, the cups. They have all sorts of different varieties now, but there's like this packet that has like a powder that you add to sour cream, right?
For a dip.
Whoo! And it is
Delish. Yes.
But I didn't
realize...
realize...
on some Ruffles beverages.
Yes. Classic Ruffles.
Carrots,
so
cucumbers.
Good. Delicious.
Delish.
Now, I didn't realize how how big of a role sour cream has in the ranch of it at all.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you.
Sure.
You got two chips on the table. One's a sour cream and onion chip, and the There's a ranch flavored chip.
What type of chip?
Do you want to do Pringles? Because I know Pringles makes both of those.
Okay.
How far apart are those flavor profiles?
What is it again? Sour cream and onion?
Sour cream and onion versus ranch.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because it's sour cream ranch.
And I'm assuming that in regular ranch, there's sour cream in it, right? Or is this Hidden Valley packet thing an outlier? That's where I'm getting confused.
I think there might be sour cream, but there's definitely like ranch salad dressing is like mayo. Like you can turn those packets into just dressing.
Right, but with sour cream, right?
I don't know if they're sour cream.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's what I have to figure out then. But then I guess this is kind of a dumb question. I thought sour cream was a part of ranch that I didn't realize till recently. But maybe you're saying maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Right. But sour cream and onion is a very different. Like an onion's a strong flavor, although I think there is some onion in ranch.
Right?
Interesting, but they're herbs.
If you did a blind test between Pringles ranch and Pringles sour cream and onion, is it a slam dunk for you?
Yes, it's a very clear slam dunk, but also Pringles is not a good example because I don't like either. Like,
do you not like Pringles? Because guess what? My brother, who was like Team Pringles his whole life, and then at some point in time switched to Lay's stacked. And then we had Pringles in Boise recently, and he's like, I can't even eat these anymore. They're terrible.
Have Pringles gone off the rails?
I don't think so. Do you think it's possible? Because you used to love Pringles, and why are you getting upset at my Pringles example?
Well, I like original Pringles. To hear, like, ranch Pringles, do they have ranch Pringles? I don't even know.
Yes.
And they have sour cream cheddar Pringles, but I don't know that they have sour cream.
Are you sure?
Yeah, onion Pringles.
Wow.
But
we
also,
opened up something way bigger than I even realized.
Well, while we're here,
yeah.
I just want to make it like very clear. You would never, ever put a Pringle into a ranch sour cream dip.
An original Pringle? Original flavor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd try it if we didn't have any other chips in the house.
Okay, if you were desperate, I guess.
It might be really good.
No, I don't think so. I honestly think I love Krunchers. You know,
it's not even a thing anymore. Explain what that is.
Oh, Krunchers?
I think it was like a Midwest thing. It's very much dating how old we are.
Okay. But kettle cooked potato.
What's the big brand now?
Kettle.
Is it just Kettle?
I think so.
Kettle chips?
Kettle chips. But they're kettle cooked potato chips. I love them. They're delicious. You wouldn't
put those in a dip.
You wouldn't put those in a dip. You need to have Ruffles have ridges, or, I mean, at maybe a Lay's, but those are too thin. It's got to be Ruffles have ridges.
Wow. Okay.
So we've done a lot of PSAs today. Ruffles have ridges meets dip. Don't even get a kettle chip near that. Girls are allowed to say no to boys. Follow your instinct. If you're feeling major red flags, it's okay to change course. And I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. We'll see you over on patreon.com/nobody's listening right.
Nice one.
And we're going to have a fun Gunther's Millions specific episode coming soon.
That's right.
And we're going to have a Mario Kart-a-thon soon.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to do that. I'm going to figure it out, though.
Yeah.
It's going down.
It is going down.
Yeah.
So we'll see you over there if you want to support us. If not, thank you so much for listening regardless. And we'll be back next week. And
good night.
Good night. Nobody's listening, right?